Imagine paying thousands of dollars to a company or a consulting firm in Africa to get your product registered. You are told things are moving well. Days pass, months, 1 year, sometimes 2 years, and nothing. Yet, they keep asking you to pay additional fees just to get your product registered in the African market. This is a reality with many international businesses that are interested in the African market and who wants to get their product registered. When this happens, you are stuck. You can't enter the market. You can't generate revenue. Partners are waiting and nothing is moving. This is a reality we sometimes face in Africa. And in today's session, I'm going to talk about what you must consider in order to choose a licensing firm that can license your product in any African country. I am Jean-Claude Agbotem Obi. I'm a business consultant specialized in market development, market entry, route to market in Africa. I help you develop your business in Africa. I help you expand your business in Africa, and I guide you all through the process. Over the years, I have seen significant companies lost huge amount of money trying to register their product in Africa. And if you have been watching my last 2 videos, I have spoken a lot about licensing. And that is why today I have dedicated this video to show you exactly how to choose the right licensing partner in Africa before handing over your product to them to get it registered in Africa. Stay with me, because what you're going to discover in this video is actually what you need to trade through the path of doing business in Africa. The first thing I must say here is that you must first of all understand what a licensing partner is. You are coming into Africa, you want to get your product registered, which is normal because your product needs to attain the legal status. But you must understand that your licensing partner is not your distributor. Your licensing partner is not your sales representative. Your licensing partner is not your importer. A licensing partner helps you comply with local regulation and obtain legal approval for your product. So you must understand this difference. And it includes a handful of documentation and going through processing. But I always advise, before you license your product, before you choose a licensing partner, do your due diligence about licensing in that country, so that when you are choosing a licensing partner, you know what that person actually represents and what it means by to choose a licensing partner. So that's the first thing you must understand. What is a licensing partner? It is not an importer, it's not your distributor, it's not your sales representative. Their work is to ensure that you get the legal status of your product in a country of interest. The second thing I will emphasize here as you are choosing a licensing partner in Africa is that don't choose a licensing partner only based on price. You know what happens sometimes is that most international companies, when they want to license their product in Africa, they reach out to a handful of licensing companies. In the case of Nigeria, licensing companies that are working with NAFDAC. In the case of Benin, licenses partner that are working with ABSSR, in Cameroon it is ANO, and then in other countries. What they do is that they reach out to a lot of them and ask them for quotes. And when they ask them for quotes, they want to choose on the cheapest price. Be very careful. The cheapest licensing partner might not necessarily be the right licensing partner. So if you are choosing based on the price, you may make an error, because there are a lot of people licensing products in Africa that actually don't understand the path to licensing. They may give you a figure, and mind you, they might be cheap from the beginning, and at the end of the day becomes very costly. Yes, because sometimes they themselves lack clarity in licensing your product in Africa. So they may tell you, for example, it's going to cost you $1,000, and at the end of the day, you end up spending more than $5,000. And you see that the person that asked you to give $3,500 or $4,000 happens to be the right person, because they know what it usually takes. In one of my videos, I said licensing fees in Africa are not always the official fees that you see on documentation, licensing documentation. So you can see on official licensing documentation that you're going to spend $1,000, but there are other hidden fees that licensing companies do pay in order to get your product registered. So don't choose a licensing partner only based on pricing. The third thing you must do as you're choosing your licensing partner in Africa, someone that will license your product, someone that will register your product in any African country, is to ask them their track records. Yes, it is always good before you sign that contract with a licensed partner in Africa to ask them their track records. How many products have they actually registered? How are they connected to the regulatory authorities? And sometimes you may ask them for client references. Though some companies may want you to sign a non-disclosure agreement before they share certain information with you, but it is worth it so that you actually know where you are heading to. A track record is also about their story, because somebody's story, I beg your pardon, can determine that person's journey and that person's seriousness. So don't just focus on the professional aspect, which is good. Focus also on their lives. How did they become a licensed partner? Sometimes it can be very important. Yes. For example, I'm an accountant, and in one of our discussions with one client, I was asked, how did you become interested in market and product development? And I had to share my experience, which I'm someday going to share in one of my videos, because it is important for you to connect the dots. And the best way you can connect the dot is by asking for track record that you also can verify to get enough information that can help you to make a sound decision. So always ask for a licensing partner's track record before you move on to deciding if they are the right people you can use to license your product in any African country. The fourth thing, which is also very important, is to understand their registration process. You see, sometimes we fail to understand that it is a process that leads to result. Yes, results don't come like miracles. Even miracles have processes. If you want to choose a licensing partner, let them explain to you clearly how they are going to do it. The process is very important. What documents are required? Which approvals are needed? Estimated timelines, government fees, their professional fees. possible challenges. And this is very, very important. I once asked a licensing partner I worked with, I said, what are the challenges that we may face? And what can we do if those challenges come about? And the answer he gave me actually made me to understand that this is the right person to work with. Don't work with someone who will just present to you, make you feel as if it's going to be a bed of roses. Speak sweet words to you. Work with someone who is capable of telling you, these are the challenges we may face. And in case these challenges come up, these are what we are going to do. Understand that. And also understand how they will communicate the progress. There are some licensing partners that once you pay them, communication stop. To even talk to you, to even give you feedback is a big problem. If you work with that kind of licensing partner, you're going to face delays, doubt, etc. So you must understand what the process is all about and how they do their work. You must also understand what responsibilities belong to you as a manufacturer. All these things should be clearly defined before you engage. If they cannot clearly explain their processes and how they work, then it's a very big challenge. So understand their registration process. Let them explain it in detail to you before you venture. And in the next one, I'm going to talk about red flags that you must watch for before you choose a licensing partner in registering your product or licensing your product in any African country. As you are choosing a licensing partner to license your product in any African country, it is also important for you to be watchful of red flags. And the first red flag you must understand is guaranteed approval. Yes. If a licensing partner guarantees you of approval using sweet words to say, don't worry, your product will be registered, be careful. It's not the licensing partner that approves the product. It is the regulator. A trustworthy partner promises diligence, transparency in his process and progress, and not certainty. Because in Africa, there are never certainties. So the first red flag is that person that gives you 100% assurance when you are talking, in the case of wanting to engage him, of guaranteed approval. That is a red flag. The second red flag is request for large upfront payments without milestones. Yes, I talked about the progress and the process. Now, there is a registration milestone. There is no registration in Africa that begins with a huge upfront payment. So you have to be very careful. Yes, there must be milestones, and the payment process must go based on the milestones. For example, if you want to register your product, it always starts with some minimal expenditures because of certain formalities before the actual registration fee. So if you meet a licensing partner that starts by asking you huge upfront payment, that's a red flag. The next red flag to watch after is poor communication. Yes, sometimes things don't just happen. We saw them coming. You are trying to engage a licensing partner that does not communicate, and you're just forcing to get him engaged and register your product. It won't work. So you must watch for poor communication. A licensing company, consulting firm that does not communicate is a very big challenge, especially when we are talking of long distance business relationship. Communication is what keeps you together. When there is that lack of communication, there is doubt, there is lack of clarity, and other things that will follow. So be watchful of poor communication as one of the red flags when choosing a licensing partner in Africa. The next red flag you must be watchful of is no written proposal. Yes. When there is no written proposal, the scope of work is not defined. The fee, the timeline, deliverables, responsibilities. Never you rely on verbal promises. Let everything be written. Yes. Of course, you all know that you're going to enter into contractual agreement. But before the contractual agreement, let there be a written proposal. So that kind of licensing partner that wants to only work verbally is a red flag, and you must avoid. The next red flag you must be careful with is those people who claim to have special connections. Special connections are important, but special connections are not regulatory. A serious licensing partner is careful about your documentation and your qualification. He does not start by leveraging on his special connections. When a licensing partner is only focusing on, I have connection, the brother, the manager is my brother, my uncle, my relative, be very careful. You may find yourself in a hookup situation where you may never come out. Now that I've given you the 5 red flags to be watchful when choosing a licensing partner, now let us move to how to know your licensing partner is performing well. To know that a licensing partner is performing well is very simple. Remember, I said poor communication is a red flag. Communication is very important here. And when we talk in terms of communication, we talk of the first thing is he provides regular progress reports. Yes, he provides regular progress reports. What is he doing? Who has he met? What is the information? What is coming out of there? It is very important. No serious licensing partner will work in silence. They have to give back, especially when they know that they are serving you. So they must feed you with information so that you know how they are moving through the path of getting your product registered. The second thing to know that your licensing partner is performing well is that they share with you copies of official correspondences. Yes, if they write a letter to the regulatory body, they will share a copy with you and tell you where they are. This is transparency. Transparency builds trust because they know that you need all that and they make sure that you get copies. Of course, it builds trust and make you understand that these guys know what they are doing. The next thing that you need to observe to know that your licensing partner is really performing is that they will always explain delays honestly. Listen, it's true I did not mention it, but I think I mentioned it in one of my videos that timeline for licensing in Africa is sometimes not respected. So a serious licensing partner will make you understand this from the beginning. And I always tell people, anything you are doing administratively in Africa, you must understand that timelines are rarely respected. So he would explain delays sincerely, honestly, make you understand that we are having this delay because of this, and this is what we are doing to ensure that it goes smoother and faster. So it is very important for you to take note of this to be sure that your licensing partner is performing well. The next thing you must observe to be sure that your licensing partner is performing well is how they maintained accurate documentation. Yes, sometimes you're registering your licensing more than one product. The documentation must be kept properly, because that is how it is done in Africa, and I'm sure in every other country. Do they have a file where the process of each product registration is chronologically kept? This is very important. And another aspect also, which I must mention here, is confidentiality in terms of information, because you're working with a licensing partner, you're going to share technical information, you're going to share product information. All these things must be kept confidential and not shared with anybody. A professional licensing partner treats information with strict confidentiality, because this is the life of the business and this is the business. Choosing a licensing partner is not just a regulation or a step into you entering the African market. It's a business decision. The right partner helps you to succeed. The wrong one makes you to fail. And you will not want to fail. And because you don't want to fail, after understanding what product licensing in Africa is all about, after understanding what you must do before you license your product in any African country, now you have understood in this video, first, how to choose a licensing partner. Secondly, the red flags you must watch out for. And then third, how to know your licensing partner is performing. It is important for you not to take licensing your product in Africa as a joking decision, because it is going to cost you not just time, energy, your investment, and it can shrink your path into the African market if you handle it anyhow. Don't choose a licensing partner as if you're buying an article from the market. Take your time. And sometimes I always tell people, be assisted by consultants like us who know the right business licensing partners in any country to help you locate the right one so you don't make the wrong decision. If your company is interested in doing business or expanding in Africa and you need assistance, I'm available. I can assist you as a market entry support professional. I help companies come to Africa, do good business, avoid making errors, because I guide you and I lead you through the path. And I want to believe that through this video, you must have learned something that will help you as you intend to do business in Africa, or to help you also to correct some errors that you have been committing that has been costing you money in the African continent. In Africa Business Paddy channel, we talk about what can help you do good business in Africa. We also have our articles on my LinkedIn newsletter. I will share the link on the description so that you can also read and follow what we talk about as far as doing business in Africa is concerned. Until then, I hope to see you again next week with another enriching topic that concerns doing business in Africa.